You can have multiple statements in the initialization expression. Separate the statement with a comma. And you can also have multiple statements in the test expression. Separate the statement with a comma. You can omit the initialization expression if it has already been done. You can declare variable in the initialization expression. Up to until here, we have learned about for loops, while loops, and do-while loop in general repetition techniques. How do we decide which loop to be used? Basically, each of these loops can be used in any loop-related application with some minimal modification, but still choosing the right loop to be used will help in speed up the code writing process. The while loop is a conditional pre-test loop, so it iterates until a certain condition to exit. It is suitable for validating the input, reading lists of data terminated by the sentinels. Then the do-while loop is a conditional post-test loop, meaning that it is always iterates at least one. It is suitable for repeating menu. The for loop is a pre-test loop. It is built in initializing, testing, and updating. It is suitable for situations where the exact numbers of iteration is known. There is a lot of usefulness of using loop in our program. For example, is keeping a running total. In every loop of our code, the variable that we use will keep on update. We can accumulate this value as well. For example, the variable of the accumulator is sum. We set this value to be 0 in the initialization step. Then every time it goes back to the loop, it will add up an accumulator value with the current value. So let's look at the example of running total in program 512. It is in this program, we wanted to get the sales value on each day and accumulate those values in variable totals. This can be seen in program from line 16 to line 23. Variable total is initialized to be 0 in line 10. Then every time user entering the sales value, those values will be added up to the variable total in line 22. The output shows that the total sales value is equivalent to the submission of all of the sales value entered by the user. Sentinel is a way to let the user to tell the program to indicate the end of the data. This technique is very useful when we as a programmer did not know how many values will be entered by the user, as it might be varied. For example of Sentinel in program 513 shows in here. In this code, we are asking a user to enter a number of series of scores earned by their team in the current season. If the user has entered all of the score, user can enter value -1 to indicate that they already entered all of the score. The output of the program can be seen in here, where user entered -1, the program start print the output of the totals accumulated numbers entered by the user. Another application of repetition is nested loop. Nested loop is a loop inside of the body of another loop. There is no limit of how many loops that we want to be nested at once. Too many nested loops can easily cause some confusion. Let's look at the nested loop in program 514. The loop inside of another loop is called inner loop, and the loop at the outside is called outer loop. Inner loop goes through all repetition of each repetition of outer loops. Inner loop repetition completes sooner than outer loop. Total numbers of repetition for inner loop is product of number of repetition of two loops. So to breaking out of the loop, we can use a break statement to terminate execution of a loop, but it needs to be used carefully because using this will cause the code harder to be understood and debug. When we using break in the inner loop, it will terminate the inner loop only and continue execute the outer loops.